The red dust of Kareth 9 never settled. It hung in the air like a constant reminder that this world did not want humans here. The mining colony sat in a valley surrounded by jagged black mountains, protected by a massive dome that flickered with energy shields. Inside, 2,000 people lived and worked, so far from Earth that the journey home took 3 years. Minho wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at the giant metal frame in front of him. The Titan 7 exoskeleton stood 3 meters tall, a mechanical beast designed to carry heavy loads across the most dangerous terrain. Its hydraulic limbs could support 500 kilograms, and its power cells could run for 72 hours without stopping. This was his job, keeping these machines alive. Every bolt, every wire, every sensor had to be perfect. One mistake could kill the person using it. He heard footsteps behind him and smiled before turning around. He already knew who it was. "Still talking to your metal babies?" Hana asked, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed him one and sat on a nearby crate. Her blue worksuit was covered in dirt, and her hair was tied back in a messy knot. She looked tired but happy. "Someone has to love them," Minho said, taking the coffee. "It was terrible, like everything else they ate or drank on this planet, but it was warm."
"How was your trip to the outpost?"
"Amazing," Hana said, her eyes lighting up. "I found 3 new bacteria species that can survive in the acid pools." 3? Do you know what this means for medicine back on Earth? Minho did not really know, but he loved watching her talk about her work. Anna was a xenobiologist, studying the tiny life forms that somehow survived on this deadly planet. While he fixed machines, she discovered miracles in drops of toxic water. They had been friends for 2 years now, ever since Hana arrived at the colony. She was one of the few people who did not treat him like just a repairman. She asked about his work, listened when he talked about engineering, and made him laugh when the long days felt endless. "The Confederation observers were watching us again today," Hana said, her voice dropping lower. "I saw their ship passing overhead during my sample collection. The Confederation, a group of alien races that controlled most of the known galaxy. They had allowed humans to build colonies on worthless planets like Kareth 9, worlds that no one else wanted. The aliens watched humans like scientists watching lab rats, curious but not impressed. Let them watch," Minho said. "We are still here, aren't we?" "Still surviving?" "Barely," Hana laughed. "I heard Commander Park say that the Confederation thinks we will abandon this colony within 5 years. They think we are too weak for worlds like this." Minho looked around the workshop, at the massive machines, the reinforced walls, the equipment that kept them alive in an atmosphere that would melt human lungs in minutes. Weak, humans had crossed space, built homes on frozen moons and burning deserts, refused to stay on just one world. "They do not understand us," he said quietly. "No," Hana agreed. "They really don't." Outside the dome, Kareth 9 was already shifting into night. The temperature would drop to -80 degrees Celsius. In the morning, it would climb to 150 degrees. The atmosphere was full of sulfuric acid. Storms could last for weeks. Everything about this planet tried to kill anything living on it, and yet, humans stayed. Minho finished his coffee and returned to work on the Titan 7. He ran diagnostics on each limb joint, checked the power coupling, and tested the emergency systems. This particular exoskeleton was special. It was the newest model, upgraded with better shields and stronger servos. It could go places that even vehicles could not reach. "You really care about these things," Hana observed, watching him work. "They save lives," Minho said simply. "When someone is trapped in a collapsed mine, or when we need to rescue workers from outside the dome, these machines are the difference between coming home and dying out there." Hana nodded, understanding. She had seen enough accidents to know how dangerous their work was. Last month, a geologist had fallen into a ravine 20 kilometers from the colony. A pilot using a Titan 5 exoskeleton had walked through a dust storm to bring him back. The man lived because the machine did not fail. "I am heading back to Research Outpost Delta tomorrow," Hana said after a while. "They want more samples from the thermal vents in the eastern zone." "Delta? That is far. Almost 150 kilometers. I know. But the samples there are unique. Nowhere else on the planet has organisms quite like them." She smiled. "Don't worry. I will be back in 4 days." Minho wanted to say something to tell her to be careful, but Hana was always careful. She was smart and experienced. She had made this trip dozens of times before. "Okay," he said instead. Bring me back a good story. I always do. That night, Minho lay in his small quarters and stared at the ceiling. He could hear the hum of the life support systems, the distant sound of mining equipment, the quiet conversations of other workers in nearby rooms. This was home now. Not Earth, which he barely remembered. Not the city where he was born. This colony, this harsh world, these people. He thought about what the Confederation aliens said about humans, that they were weak, that they would fail, that they did not belong on worlds like Kareth 9. But humans did not survive because they were the strongest or the smartest. They survived because they refused to give up, because they took care of each other. Because when one person fell, 10 others would risk everything to pick them up. Minho closed his eyes and drifted to sleep, not knowing that in 36 hours, everything would change, that he would face a choice that would define not just his life, but how an entire galaxy saw humanity. The Titan 7 exoskeleton stood in the workshop, silent and ready. Soon it would carry more than cargo. It would carry hope through hell itself, powered by something stronger than any machine, human will. The red dust continued to swirl outside the dome, and Kareth 9 turned beneath alien stars, waiting for the storm that would test everything the colony had built, waiting to see if humans really were as stubborn and impossible as they seemed. The answer, the universe would soon learn, was yes. The alarm woke Minho at 4 in the morning. Not the gentle wake-up tone, but the emergency siren that made his heart jump into his throat. He was out of bed and pulling on his clothes before he was fully awake. All personnel, this is Commander Park. We have a Class 5 ion storm approaching from the northwest. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. This is not a drill. All field teams return to the colony immediately. Repeat, all field teams return immediately. Class 5. Minho felt his stomach drop. The colony had never faced a Class 5 storm before. Class 3 storms could tear apart buildings. Class 4 storms had killed 3 people last year. Class 5 was supposed to be impossible, the kind of storm that existed only in worst-case scenarios. He ran to the command center, pushing through crowds of workers who were rushing to secure equipment and seal the outer sections. The main screen showed the storm as a massive red wall on the radar, spreading across hundreds of kilometers. It looked like the planet itself was angry. Status report. Commander Park shouted at her team. All mining crews accounted for and returning, someone called out. Eastern research team is en route. 8 to 40 minutes. Western Geological Survey just passed checkpoint 7. Minho scanned the board, looking for one name there, Research Outpost Delta. His chest tightened. What about Delta Outpost? He asked, loud enough for the commander to hear. Dr. Hana reported in 30 minutes ago. She is taking the transport back now. Should arrive in 4 hours, well before the storm hits. 4 hours. That should be enough time. Minho tried to breathe normally. Hana would be fine. She had made this trip many times. The next 3 hours passed in organized chaos. Workers reinforced the dome shield, sealed all exterior hatches, and moved equipment into protected storage. The storm was visible now on the horizon, a black and purple wall that flickered with lightning. It looked alive, hungry. Then the second alarm sounded. Commander, we have lost contact with the Delta transport. Everyone in the command center froze. Say again. Park's voice was sharp. The transport stopped transmitting 20 minutes ago. Last known position was 70 kilometers out, near the Iron Canyon region. Get them back on comms, now. The communications officer worked frantically at his console, but Minho already knew. The storm's electromagnetic field could destroy radio signals long before the winds arrived. If the transport had stopped transmitting, something was very wrong. Then, a burst of static, and Hana's voice came through, broken and faint. Port failed, caught in the collapsed hurt. Can't move. Hana. Minho pushed forward to the console. Hana, can you hear me? Minho? Building collapsed, legs trapped, can't feel? More static. Storm coming, tell my family what. Hana, stay there. We are coming to get you. No time, save yourselves. The signal died completely. Commander Park was already shaking her head. We cannot send a rescue team. The storm will hit in less than 3 hours. Nothing can survive out there. We have to try. Minho shouted. Try with what? Park gestured at the weather display. Our fastest vehicle cannot make a 70-kilometer round trip in 3 hours, especially not through that terrain. And even if it could, the electromagnetic interference will destroy any standard electronics before we get halfway there. The Titan 7, Minho said. The words came out before he fully thought them through. The Titan 7 exoskeleton has military-grade shielding. It can handle the interference. I can walk there and bring her back. Walk? Park stared at him. Engineer Kim, that is 70 kilometers through increasingly hostile conditions. The storm will catch you before you return. The Titan 7 can operate for 72 hours. It has full environmental protection. I can make it. You will be carrying an injured person through a Class 5 ion storm. The radiation alone will kill you both. Minho met her eyes. Maybe. But if we do nothing, she dies for certain. Park looked at him for a long moment, then shook her head. I cannot authorize this. I will not send another person to die. I am sorry, Engineer Kim, the answer is no. Minho stood there feeling like the floor had disappeared beneath him. Leave Hana out there, alone, injured, waiting for a storm that would tear her apart? Just abandon her because the odds were bad? No. He turned and walked out of the command center. Engineer Kim, where are you going? Park called after him. Minho did not answer. He went straight to the exoskeleton bay, his hands already working on the access codes. The Titan 7 stood waiting exactly as he had left it, fully charged, fully functional, ready. He climbed into the control harness and began the startup sequence. The machine hummed to life around him. Hydraulics pressurizing, shields activating, sensors coming online. He loaded emergency medical supplies, water, extra power cells, everything he could carry. Minho, stop. Park had followed him, along with 3 security officers. That is a direct order. Stand down. I am sorry, Commander, Minho said, his voice steady. I cannot follow that order. You will be court-martialed for this. Then court-martial me, after I bring her home. The Titan 7 took its first step and the bay floor shook. Minho walked toward the emergency airlock, and the security officers moved to block his path. Stand aside, Minho said quietly. They looked at each other, then at Commander Park. She stood there, her face hard, her fists clenched. For a moment, Minho thought she would stop him. Then she turned to the security team. Let him through. Commander? One of them asked, confused. I said let him through. If he wants to commit suicide, I cannot stop him. But her voice cracked slightly, and Minho saw something in her eyes that looked like respect. The airlock opened, and the toxic atmosphere of Kareth 9 rushed in, held back only by the secondary shield. Minho took a breath inside his sealed helmet. Minho, Park said over the comm. Bring her back. Both of you. Yes, Commander. The Titan 7 stepped out into the red dust and the airlock sealed behind him. The storm loomed on the horizon, closer now, covering half the sky. Lightning danced between the clouds and the wind was already strong enough to shake the exoskeleton's frame. 70 kilometers. 3 hours before the storm hit. Impossible odds. But Minho was human, and humans had never been good at accepting impossible. He started walking, each step carrying him farther from safety and closer to hell. Behind him, the colony watched. Above him, in orbit, the alien observers recorded everything, certain they were witnessing another human failure. They had no idea what they were about to see. Hour 36. Minho had not slept in almost 2 days. His eyes burned with exhaustion and his body screamed at him to stop, to rest, to give up. He ignored it. The Titan 7 continued its steady march through the storm, step after mechanical step. Then he felt it. A slight hesitation in the exoskeleton's left leg, a tiny delay in response. No, he whispered. Not now. Please, not now. The hesitation became a grinding noise, then a loud pop, and suddenly the left leg locked up completely. The Titan 7 stumbled and Minho barely caught himself before they crashed to the ground. What happened? Hana asked, her voice thick with fever. Left leg servo just failed. Minho brought up the diagnostic screen. The readout was bad. The servo motor had burned out completely, probably damaged by the electromagnetic interference and the constant stress. I cannot fix it out here. Then we are stuck. No. Minho's jaw tightened. We adapt. He switched the left leg to manual override, which meant he had to physically drag it with each step using the exoskeleton's other systems. The right leg still worked normally, but now every step was a battle. Walk with the right leg, drag the left leg forward, repeat. Their speed dropped by more than half, and the power consumption doubled. Minho, this is not sustainable, Hana said, watching the power gauge. At this rate, we will run out of energy before we reach the colony. I know. Then what are we going to do? Keep going until we cannot anymore. Then we keep going anyway. Hana started to cry then, soft sobs that broke Minho's heart. I am so sorry. This is all my fault. If I had not gone to the outpost, if I had been more careful— Stop, Minho said gently. This is not your fault. Storms happen. Accidents happen. What matters is that we do not give up. But I am killing you. You are going to die because of me. Hana, listen to me. He stopped walking for a moment, something he could not afford to do but did anyway. I made this choice, me, not you. I chose to come get you. I chose to bring you home. That is on me, and I do not regret it for 1 second. She was quiet after that, but he could hear her breathing, ragged and painful. Hour 43. The fever was getting worse. Hana started talking to people who were not there, calling out names Minho did not recognize. Her mother, her sister, someone called Day. She was delirious, trapped in memories and hallucinations. It is okay, Minho kept saying. I am here. You are safe. Just hold on. But she was not safe. None of this was safe, hour 49. The storm intensified again, something Minho had not thought possible. The wind shook the Titan 7 so hard that he had to stop and brace himself every few steps. Lightning struck close enough that his shield generators overloaded and shut down for a full minute. In that minute, acid rain hit his exposed suit and started eating through the outer layer. When the shields came back online, Minho checked himself for damage. Chemical burns on his left arm. Not serious yet, but they would be if it happened again. He kept walking. Hour 52. They reached a ridge and Minho looked down into hell itself. Where there should have been a gentle slope leading down to the valley, there was now a massive ravine. The storm had torn the ground apart, creating a chasm at least 30 meters across and impossibly deep. The normal route was gone. Completely gone. Tell me we can go around, Hana mumbled, barely conscious now. Minho checked his map. Going around would add 40 kilometers to their journey. With the damaged exoskeleton and their current power levels, they would never make it. There is a maintenance bridge, he said, studying the readout. About 1 kilometer north. It crosses the ravine. Can it handle our weight? Minho did not answer because the answer was no. The bridge was rated for 200 kilograms maximum. The Titan 7 alone weighed 400 kilograms. Add Minho and Hana and all the equipment, and they were pushing 620 kilograms. But there was no other option. It took 90 minutes to reach the bridge. When Minho saw it, his heart sank. It was worse than he had imagined. The bridge was old, made of metal grating and cables swaying in the fierce wind. Parts of it had already torn away. It looked like it might collapse if he breathed on it too hard. Minho. Hana's voice was suddenly clear, lucid. We cannot cross that. It will never hold, I know. Then what? I am going to take the exoskeleton apart. Carry you across on my back. Then make trips back and forth for the pieces. That is insane. The bridge could collapse at any moment. Yes. You could fall. I could. Then do not do it. Leave me here, take the exoskeleton and go. Minho was already climbing out of the control harness. We have had this argument. You already lost. The wind hit him like a hammer the moment he stepped outside the exoskeleton's protection. His suit's personal shields flared, but they were weak, designed for emergencies only. He had maybe an hour before the radiation and acid rain would start killing him. He worked fast, unbolting the Titan 7's limb sections, separating the power core, dismantling the system into pieces he could carry. His hands were clumsy with cold and exhaustion, but he kept going. Then he lifted Hana onto his back. She was light, so light it terrified him. When had she lost so much weight? He secured her with straps from the medical kit and approached the bridge. If we die, I am going to be very angry with you, Hana whispered in his ear. If we die, you can yell at me all you want, Minho replied. The first step onto the bridge was the hardest. The metal groaned under his weight and the whole structure swayed sickeningly. Below he could see nothing but darkness and swirling dust. He did not look down again. One step, another. The bridge creaked and swayed. Cables snapped with sounds like gunshots. Minho kept moving forward slowly, carefully, each foot placement deliberate. Halfway across, a support cable broke. The bridge tilted 30 degrees to the left. Hana screamed. Minho grabbed the side railing and held on as the bridge bounced and swayed like a ship in a storm. When it stabilized, he started moving again. By the time he reached the other side, his legs were shaking so badly he could barely stand. He lowered Hana to the ground, made sure she was secure, and then turned back to the bridge. Do not, Hana said.
Minho, please.
You made it across. That is enough. Leave the exoskeleton. We need it to reach the colony. 3 trips. I can do this, and he did. 3 nightmare trips back across that swaying, groaning, dying bridge. Each time he carried pieces of the Titan 7 heavy and awkward. Each time more cables snapped. Each time he thought the bridge would finally give way. On the 3rd trip carrying the power core and the last of the limb sections, the bridge began its final collapse. Minho actually ran as the metal tore apart behind him. He dove the last 3 meters, landing hard on solid ground as the bridge fell into the ravine with a sound like thunder. He lay there, gasping, every muscle on fire. 8 hours! The crossing had taken 8 hours. You are the most stubborn, idiotic, wonderful person I have ever met, Hana said, crying again. Minho managed to laugh. I will take that as a compliment. He reassembled the Titan 7 with hands that would not stop shaking. Some of the pieces were damaged from the crossing, but the exoskeleton still worked. Barely. As he settled back into the harness and secured Hana once more, he checked their position. 28 kilometers to the colony. Power at 19%. Time elapsed. 61 hours. They were not going to make it. Not with the current power drain, but Minho started walking anyway because stopping meant dying and he was not ready to die yet. Not when Hana was still breathing. Not when there was still a chance, no matter how small. Above, the aliens watched and calculated. 0% chance of survival, their computers said. The computers, like the aliens, had never met anyone quite like Minho. Hour 68. Minho was no longer sure if he was awake or dreaming. Everything hurt. His hands were bloody inside the control gloves, blisters broken and bleeding. His eyes were dry and burning. His muscles had moved past pain into a numb, distant ache that felt almost peaceful. The Titan 7 stumbled again. The damaged left leg was getting worse, and now the right leg was showing signs of wear. Every joint complained, every servo whined with stress. The machine was dying around him, giving everything it had, but it was not enough. Minho. Hana's voice was barely a whisper. Are you still there? Still here, he said. His own voice sounded strange to him, rough and distant. I cannot feel my legs anymore. That might be better. Less pain. Or it means I am dying. You are not dying. I will not let you. She laughed weakly. You do not get to decide that. Watch me. The power gauge hit 10%. Minho did the math in his head, though thinking felt like walking through mud. At current consumption, they had maybe 6 hours of power left, and they still had 25 kilometers to go. It was impossible. Completely, mathematically, undeniably impossible. We are not going to make it, are we? Hana asked quietly. No, Minho admitted. Probably not. Then why keep going? Because giving up is not in my programming. Hour 70. The power hit 5% and warning alarms started blaring inside the exoskeleton. Minho shut them off. He did not need machines to tell him they were failing. He could feel it in every struggling step. Minho, I want to tell you something, Hana said. Her voice was clearer now, like people get sometimes right before the end. I am glad I met you. These 2 years, working with you, talking with you, they were the best part of being out here. Do not talk like that, I am serious. You made this terrible planet feel less terrible. You made me laugh when I wanted to cry. Her voice broke. You walked into hell for me. No one has ever done anything like that for me before. Hana, let me finish, please. I need you to know that you are a good person, the best person. And when this is over, I do not want you to blame yourself. You did everything you could. You did more than anyone could. Promise me you will remember that. Stop talking like you are dying. You are going to live. We are both going to live! Minho, I said no! He pushed the Titan 7 harder, forcing more speed from the failing machine. The exoskeleton responded, but the power gauge dropped faster. 4%. 3%, hour 71. Hana woke up screaming. Not from pain, but from nightmares. Minho talked to her, told her she was safe, told her they were almost home. All lies, but kind lies, leave me. She begged when the screaming stopped. Please, Minho, I'm already dead. You are killing yourself for a corpse. You are not a corpse. You are Hana. You are brilliant and funny and stubborn, and you are going to live because I say so. You do not control life and death. Then watch me try anyway. Power at 2%. The Titan 7's movements became jerky, inconsistent. Both legs were barely functioning now. Minho was practically dragging the machine forward through sheer determination. Hour 72. The moment Minho had been dreading arrived. The power gauge hit 0 and the Titan 7 simply stopped. All systems died at once. The display went dark. The hydraulics released their pressure with a long hiss. The machine became a 3-meter-tall statue frozen in mid-step. They were 18 kilometers from the colony. 18 kilometers that might as well have been 18,000. Minho sat in the dead exoskeleton, too tired to even feel despair. So this was it. This was how it ended. They had fought so hard, come so far, and it still was not enough. The power is gone, is it not? Hana asked softly. Yes. Then we are finished. Minho climbed out of the control harness. His legs nearly collapsed when they took his full weight. He had to grab the exoskeleton's frame to stay upright. Every muscle was weak, exhausted beyond anything he had experienced before. But he was not finished. Not yet. He opened the carrying compartment and carefully lifted Hana out. She gasped with pain as he moved her. Her face was gray, her breathing shallow. She was dying. Maybe hours left, maybe less. What are you doing? She asked, walking. You cannot carry me. Not for 18 kilometers. Probably not, Minho agreed. He adjusted her position on his back, making sure not to put pressure on her broken ribs. But I am going to try anyway. This is insane. This is suicide. Welcome to being human. He started walking, leaving the dead Titan 7 behind. Each step was agony. His legs shook, his back screamed. His lungs burned with the effort of breathing through his suit's failing filters. The storm continued around them, relentless and uncaring. One step, another. Another. Tell me about Earth. Hana whispered after an hour of walking. Tell me about the ocean. So he did. Minho talked about waves and sand, about seabirds and the smell of salt air. He talked about things he barely remembered, filling in the gaps with imagination. Anything to keep both of them conscious, to give them something other than the pain. I would like to see that, Hana said dreamily. When we get home. Can we go together? Yes, Minho promised, though home meant the colony now, not Earth. We will go together. He fell for the first time at hour 75. Just collapsed, his legs finally giving out. He lay on the rocky ground, Hana still on his back, and tried to find the strength to stand up again. Leave me, Hana whispered. Please, I cannot watch you die for me. Not happening. Why? Why are you doing this? Minho thought about it as he struggled back to his feet. Why was he doing this? The logical part of his brain, the part that understood numbers and probabilities, was screaming at him to stop. But that was not the part in control. Because we are human, he said finally. We do not calculate odds. We do not leave our people behind. We endure. He started walking again. The storm began to weaken around hour 78. The wind dropped, the lightning became less frequent. They had survived the worst of it. But Minho was not sure if that mattered anymore. He was hallucinating now, seeing things that were not there. Sometimes the red dust became blue water. Sometimes he thought he was a child again, walking home from school. Minho, you need to rest, Hana said. She sounded so far away. Cannot rest. Have to keep moving. You are going to die. Maybe, but not yet. He fell again at hour 80. This time it took him 10 minutes to get back up. His legs would not work properly anymore. They folded under him, betrayed him. So he crawled. Minho pulled Hana onto a makeshift sled he made from pieces of his suit and began dragging her across the ground. It was slow, agonizingly slow, but it was movement. It was progress. Somewhere above, the alien observers watched in shock. Their computers had declared both humans dead hours ago. And yet here they were, still moving, still refusing to surrender. 1 kilometer left. Minho could see the colony lights now, faint through the thinning dust. So close, almost there, but his body had nothing left. He collapsed one final time, his vision going black, his arms finally losing their strength. Minho, Hana was crying, shaking him. Minho, wake up. We are almost there, please. He tried to move, but his body would not respond. He had pushed beyond every limit, exceeded every boundary, and now there was simply nothing left. I am sorry, he whispered. I tried. Minho, no. Stay with me. He could hear other voices now, shouting, running footsteps. Lights bright and painful, we found them. 200 meters from the gate. Get a medical team here now. How are they still alive? This is impossible. Hands grabbed him, tried to pull him away from Hana. Minho held on with strength he did not know he had left. Do not separate us, he managed to say. Stay together. It is okay, someone said gently. You are both safe now. Let go. But Minho could not let go. Even unconscious, even as they carried him and Hana through the colony gates, his arms stayed locked around her. The rescue team had to carefully pry his fingers open, amazed at how his body had frozen in that protective position. He had carried her for 79 hours, 66 of those hours in the Titan VII exoskeleton, 13 on his own back and hands. He had walked, crawled, and dragged her through 150 kilometers of the worst conditions the planet could create. And somehow, impossibly, they had both survived. The first hour was almost easy. The Titan VII ate up the distance with long, powerful strides, and the terrain was familiar. Minho had walked this path in simulation dozens of times, memorizing every landmark, every dangerous spot. The exoskeleton sensors painted the world in shades of green and blue on his display, showing him what his eyes could not see through the thickening dust. Then the storm's edge reached him. The wind hit like a physical wall, nearly knocking the Titan VII off balance. Minho adjusted his stance, widening the exoskeleton's gait, letting the machine's computer help him stay upright. Dust and small rocks pelted the shields, creating a constant rattling sound that made it hard to think. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in 10 minutes, then another 20. The exoskeleton's heating system kicked in, but Minho could still feel the cold creeping through the insulation. He kept walking. 16 hours after leaving the colony, Minho finally saw the research outpost. Or what was left of it. The small building had partially collapsed, its roof torn away by the storm's leading winds. Debris was scattered across the rocky ground, and the transport vehicle lay on its side like a dead animal. "Hana," he called over the comm. "Hana, I am here." For a terrible moment, there was only static. Then a weak voice answered, "Minho, that is impossible. You cannot be here." He found her inside the ruined building, trapped under a fallen support beam. Her legs were pinned, her face was pale with pain, and blood had soaked through her suit in several places. But she was alive. "How?" she whispered as he approached. "How did you get here?" "The Titan VII," Minho said, already working to lift the beam. The exoskeleton's strength made it possible, but he had to move carefully. One wrong shift and the rest of the structure might collapse on them both. "You walked 70 kilometers into a Class 5 storm?" Hana's voice rose with disbelief and anger. "Are you insane?" "Probably," Minho grunted, finally freeing her legs. He pulled out the medical scanner and ran it over her body. The readings made his heart sink. Both legs broken, 3 ribs cracked, internal bleeding, possibly a concussion. She needed surgery, needed it hours ago. "Listen to me," Hana said, grabbing his arm with surprising strength. "You need to leave me here and go back. Right now, you can still make it if you go alone. I am not leaving you. Minho, look at me." She gestured at her broken body. "I cannot walk. You will have to carry me the entire way. That is 70 kilometers through the worst storm this planet has ever seen. It is impossible." "Good thing I already did the impossible just getting here," Minho said. He was preparing the medical injections, painkillers and clotting agents, anything to keep her stable. "Now stop arguing and let me help you. Please." Tears were running down Hana's face now. "Please, Minho, do not die for me." "I am not worth it." He stopped and looked directly at her. "Yes, you are." Working as gently as he could, Minho stabilized Hana's legs with emergency splints and wrapped her torso to support the broken ribs. Every touch made her gasp with pain, but she bit down on her lip and stayed quiet. She was brave. She had always been brave. He lifted her into the Titan VII's carrying harness, a system designed for cargo but modified on the spot to hold a person. Her weight registered on his display, 58 kilograms. The exoskeleton could handle 10 times that. But this was not about weight. This was about keeping her alive while moving through conditions that killed anything unprotected. "Comfortable?" he asked. "That is a stupid question," Hana muttered. But there was almost a smile in her voice. Minho sealed her inside a protective wrap, adding every bit of insulation and shielding he could spare from the exoskeleton's own systems. It meant he would be more exposed to the elements, but that was a price he would pay gladly. Then he started walking back toward the colony. The storm, which had seemed bad before, now revealed its true fury. The wind screamed like a living thing, gusting strong enough to push the Titan VII sideways. Lightning struck the ground so close that Minho's shields flared bright white, absorbing the energy. The temperature continued to drop, and the visibility went to almost zero. Minho relied entirely on his instruments now, following the navigation markers he had set on the way out. Each step had to be carefully placed. One wrong move on the unstable ground could send them tumbling into a ravine or crack the exoskeleton's leg joints. "How are you holding up?" he asked Hana after the first hour of the return journey. "In agony," she replied, "but alive." "How is the power?" He checked the display. 68%. "We are using more than I calculated. The storm's electromagnetic field is interfering with the cells." "Minho, please. It is not too late. You can still leave me and save yourself." "Stop saying that." "Why?" "It is the logical choice. One life instead of two." "Hana." His voice was firm. "I did not walk through hell to get you just to abandon you now. We are going home together or not at all. Those are the only two options." She was quiet for a long time after that. The hours blurred together. Walk, check the sensors, adjust course, keep Hana conscious by talking to her. Minho told her about his childhood on Earth, about the ocean he barely remembered, about his plans to someday visit the beaches again when his contract ended. Hana told him about her research, about the discoveries she still wanted to make, about how much she hated hospitals, anything to keep both of them focused on something other than the pain and the impossible distance still ahead. Night fell, though it was hard to tell through the storm. The temperature plunged to -90 degrees. Minho's hands inside the exoskeleton's control gloves started to go numb. He flexed them constantly, trying to keep blood flowing. "I need to rest," Hana said weakly. "Not yet. Another few kilometers." "Minho, I am so cold." He diverted more heat to her compartment, even though it meant his own heating failed completely. His teeth started chattering, but he kept walking. One step, another step, another. 28 hours after leaving the colony, with 42 kilometers still to go, Minho allowed himself 5 minutes to stop. He checked Hana's vital signs. Her pulse was weak but steady. The bleeding had stopped, but she was running a fever now. Infection was setting in. She needed a hospital. She needed it desperately. "Still with me?" he asked. "Unfortunately," Hana whispered. "Minho, why are you doing this, really?" He thought about lying, about giving her a simple answer. But she deserved the truth. "Because you are my friend. Because I care about you. Because leaving you to die was not something I could live with. Even if it kills you?" Even then. Above them, the alien ship in orbit continued to watch and record. The Confederation observers had calculated Minho's chances of success at less than 1%. They expected to witness 2 human deaths, another example of the species' emotional foolishness leading to tragedy. They did not understand that for humans, some things mattered more than survival. Some bonds were stronger than fear. Minho stood up, checked the Titan VII systems one more time, and resumed walking into the storm. The worst was still ahead.